where the personality comes from. That our personality is a very sophisticated system that was encoded within us, and it was implanted into us beginning in Adam. By Adam and Eve. And then another element got put on top of that personality, and that was called the influence of the snake. The snake part of our personality takes all the good things that would help us become great and just totally makes us waste that potential, and takes all of our good potential and lowers it into selfish pursuits. We began to speak about yesterday how these personality qualities are rooted in very, very deep things called the Sefiros. And how every single day now during Sefiros Omer I have the opportunity to fix another part of my personality. Essentially to remove the animalistic part, the part of me that's just pure instincts and basically, a intelligent baboon, to remove that consciousness and to focus on the personality traits of my soul, my godly soul. Okay, so far so good. Any questions?
The snake related with Amalek.
Yes, of course. Amalek is a representation of the primordial snake. The primordial snake being a consciousness of selfishness, a consciousness of self-centeredness, a consciousness of ego out of control, a consciousness of depression, a consciousness of laziness, a consciousness of haughtiness, all the things that we don't want. That's not me. But like we're going to see as we're going to go more into detail today, all of those bad things at their core is something good. Yes, Yaakov.
I feel like it's like a catalyst for like your own development, like so you can reach potential. Like there's like idea like when like you're so sitting around so much, you feel like you're so lazy or whatever, you feel the need to like actually finally get up and do something. Right? Like,
so yes, we're going to see that something happens that, let's say when a guy feels this passion that he just needs to, gobble up some non-kosher food. What is happening when he goes past the treif restaurant and he feels like in the movies, like when you see the steam and the guy's like, yeah, and he starts following it. What's going on inside of him? Or it's Passover and you can't have bread.
a battle.
Internal
battle.
Oh, very good. There's definitely a battle. And then he knows, but it's Passover. We don't eat bread. Or that restaurant is not kosher. And there's many other examples I could use. But here, what's the feeling that he's experiencing here?
Animalistic. It's animal soul.
But now let's go more detailed. What feeling is that? Is that repulsion or is that attraction?
Wants to be complete, but in the wrong way. No?
This man is attracted right now to something. Right? Let's just say what it is and call a spade a spade. When the wafting, delicious treif smell comes and they're frying up the notorious PIG and he starts smelling the bacon, so there's an attraction. The only problem is that's forbidden. Or what if a person he met some guys and they, sometimes these shady guys, and they take him into a room and they say, I've got a deal you can make big on. You can make big, you just have to do a little shady move. But if you pull this off, we're going to pay you 50 grand, cash. And all of a sudden there's a feeling of like, I could use 50 grand. Like, there's an attraction, there's an allure, like, I want that. I'm going to use a word now. Ahava. I'm attracted to that. I want that. I love. The first major character trait of our 7, remember, we are built on 7 major emotional character traits. Trait number 1 is love. Love is always something that pulls me. When I'm in love with something, it's drawing me. Love is a feeling of attraction. Even in Hebrew, how do you say love? Ahava. Ahava, the root is hav, which means to give, means to give, to join together, to give somebody something. That's why when you love, you give. And in Hebrew, all the Hebrew letters in the Hebrew language is intrinsically meaningful. Intrinsically meaningful. So there's many, many layers on how to understand language. So let's go into the numerical value of the word ahava. Every Hebrew letter has a numerical value. That's called gematria. Gematrias. So what's the numerical value of the letter aleph? 1. What's the numerical value of hey? 5. Beautiful. What's the numerical value of beis or vase? 2. And hey?
5.
So what are we up to? 13. 13 is the numerical value of what other word? Echad. 1. Unity. Because when you love, you create unification. Echad is aleph. 1. Chet. 8. Daled. 4. Beautiful. So 8, 4, 1. 13. Love and unity is all one thing. When you love, you start unifying. Now, it's a funny thing, but back to our guy with the smell that's pulling him, there's a feeling of love here. I want to unify with whatever that smell is. I want it. I'm into that. I feel attraction to that. Or what if something comes up on the computer? Some ad, something that he shouldn't be looking at, but he wants to. That feeling of, but I want, that's love. Now, love might have fallen into the wrong places. When a person is loving, wants to unify with whatever that treif meat is, or that bread on Pesach, that's called a feeling of love. You see what I'm saying? There's a love, there's an attraction, but it's not for something that's going to serve him. It's that we call that fallen love, or an abusive relationship. But the guy still picks up the phone and calls the girl and says, you know, that even though she's been so abusive to him, but he wants the relationship. He's trying to unify, even though that's bad love. That's coming from an unhealthy place. Or they know that it's not good for each other, but they still get together. So the love is there. I don't mean I'm getting into the mechanics of love. Now, don't use love like they throw around. I'm saying the Kabbalah of love is deep unification, attraction to something, but when it falls from the world of the snake, the love of the snake is let me lure you into something. So the way the snake uses love is he lures you to unify with him in a very, very unhealthy way. Okay, you getting the concepts here? You can apply this that's one of the things about Kabbalah and the deeper elements of Torah. Once you understand this, the universe makes sense. Because all of this is the rules of how the universe works. So fall in love. When a person's in love with something that's not healthy, it's not good, but he wants to bond with it. He wants to unify with it. That's love that's fallen into bad things. That could be anything. He's watching some television show and he just can't stop. He's attracted to it. So he's unified with it. He's bonding with it. He can't stop. He's just scrolling and scrolling, and he looks at his screen time. He's like, how was I 6 hours on TikTok this afternoon? How did that happen? The answer is that it was love, your attraction, you became unified with it. Obviously, it's engineered to keep you addicted and to stay on it, on the platform. And you were unified with it because the love had fallen to not a good place. So you might say, so then what's pure love? Well, I'll let you guys answer that. What do you say? Pure love. Love that's not fallen. Love that's being used in the right way.
It's constructive.
So very good. It's love that's good, that's constructive, that's going in a good direction. So here's a great example. Being in love with your wife is very holy expression of love. And because, what did we say love is? Love is a unification, is attraction, is two becoming one. The ultimate expression of that would be being in love with your wife. Making a bond that will be for eternity. By the way, you do go into eternity with your wife. I'm talking about long-term relationships. I mean, that's a long time. And loved ones will be with you. Your wife especially. For eternity. So I hope you guys are good roommates. And you guys, worked out the love thing. Yeah.
You know how to recognize if it's good or bad if you don't have Torah.
Very good. Baruch Hashem. That's why we're here.
Even if it's constructed, you can't know. You need instructions.
So sometimes, Baruch Hashem, that you didn't have intuition of what's good and what's healthy love, but you're right. A person might think that something is like, really, this is so good. This is such good love. I feel so attracted to this. I was speaking to Rabbi Eade today. We were talking about this example. I've got low self-esteem, so I need to feel more, attracted. So, I'm just going to take, cocaine.
He just said that.
He just said that right now? I'm just going to, every day, right in the morning, a little snifferoo, and it's going to be great. And then I'm in love with that cocaine experience, and that's a great way to just feel connected in love with. But the problem is that you're in love with something that's really not a good idea. That's fallen love. That's love that's gone into an unhealthy place. The love that we're talking about is directing the love towards your highest essence, which is activating love, which we said is the first character trait of your godly soul. And that love will express itself. Love of God, love of Torah, love of humanity in a healthy way. But how do I know what that is? So the answer is, when I have the guidelines of Torah, then I know how and what is healthy love and what's not healthy love. Society has a lot of funny things that they call healthy love. You guys could probably answer that.
Can you touch on a little bit the idea you're saying eternal love? You're saying when you're married to your wife eternally.
Yeah.
What is the context behind this eternal?
So we're talking about that we have 7 major emotional elements to our personality. When expressed in a healthy way, those 7 parts of us will activate us for a eternity of pleasure, both in this world and the world to come, when used properly. However, if seduced by the snake consciousness, which we mentioned before, then those same very personality qualities, and we're starting to speak about them now, the first part of them is love. Those same qualities fall. It's called fallen love. And therefore, instead of expressing love, and we explain love means a unification, bonding, giving, joining together, attraction. Love always makes somebody close, moving close. Instead of moving close to things that are good, a guy will move close to something that's destructive. Destructive. For example, he works for some business, and they demand that he works 70 hours a week, and he puts so much energy into the company. That's called, in the language of Kabbalah, that he's in love with it. He's giving to it. He became one with his business, but he did it completely by destroying everything else. He didn't know the limits. He didn't know how to stop. He just gave and gave and gave and unified with it. And oftentimes it'll happen at the expense of something else, like his wife, his kids. They're like, Dad, when are you coming home? No, you promised you were going to ride, help me ride my bike today. Like that type of stuff. And I'm not saying this just to make people like sad and, cry, but that's how it goes. Kids never forget things, I'm telling you. If you ever promise something to your kid, you better do it. I'm very careful. For example, my son's bike broke before Pesach, so you can't fix it on Pesach. But I told him, the whole time he's like, Tati, I need my bike. He just started riding his bike. He loves it, So I said to him, and I was careful that I used this word. I said, son, I promise, right after Pesach, I'm going to fix your bike. Do you know there was only one thing on my brain? I woke up the next morning, after Pesach, I was like, oh my goodness, there's nothing else I need to do, except be nice to my wife. I have to get his bike fixed. Very, very important. Because I knew, there was only one thing that he was thinking about. Tati, thank God, I ran there, I put his bike on my bike, I zipped it over to the bike place and got it fixed. I was like, yes. I came back, it was waiting. The feeling of his whole world was, you promised this. And then you deliver it. You know what kind of belief that makes in a child? That you can trust. And we say, the Sefiros speak about this, that when a child grows up in a home, and when his father says, I promise I'll do this, and he delivers it, every time that the Torah says, that God says, I promise, you can sure believe that God's going to also deliver. Because you've grown up in a home where the one that you look to for all of your hope, as the one that's like your guiding light, that you already have it deep in your personality, in your DNA, that I can trust that when God says that He's going to reward those that go in His ways, it's so deeply integrated that He's going to do that. Because I have someone in my life that does that very thing. So that's an example I wanted to make. Fall in love, that was fall in love. That was the love that the guy was just investing in his company. He was so attracted to it. But it had a debris field of his kids, his wife, other things. If you could have a healthy balance, then that's using love in the right way. Love means bonding, attracting. It means giving, 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 giving. So far, so good. Fall in love, another example. A guy gets attracted to somebody, one night stand. It's such an example to just fall in love. They know it's not going to be good for them. It's not serving their highest good. They got lost in it. Or a guy just goes and just drinks himself into a stupor. Alcoholics. It's love, i.e. I need the drink. I'm drinking. I'm attracted. I become one with the drink. But it's fallen to such a bad place. But that attraction, that love means attraction, deep attraction to something. So anytime that you start feeling like an attraction to something, you should know in the language of Kabbalah, that's love. You're in love. You're moving towards it. You're deeply attracted to it. If it's serving your highest interest, then that's called healthy love. That's love from your godly soul. If, though, it's hijacking your well-being, then that's fallen love. And we do it all the time. We invest, we attract, we're attracted to things, and it could be subtle. It could be that you saw some advertisement somewhere, and the advertisement said, if you don't buy this Chevy or whatever, then you're just not going to get the girl that's sitting on the truck, as if somehow there's some correlation. Or if you don't buy this deodorant, you're like a nobody. And you felt attracted to that message, and then you bought the thing. So if you just were attracted and you didn't think it through, it means that the love just fell. You operated without thinking. You essentially, it was an animalistic just movement towards something without processing it properly. But love that's from a higher plane is that I'm attracted to things that are going to be good. And that attraction is real. I'm attracted to things that are going to be good. Yeah.
So all attractions and desires.
Amen.
All attractions and desires have to pass through the intellect.
So the real secret is it goes through Chabad first. Chacham bin Adas. That we're now in the world of your personality, your emotions. The secret of the Jew, and the secret that we're here to give humanity, is your emotions only follow after your intellect was activated. Your emotions only follow after your intellect was activated.
And everybody?
Ideally, yes. Your emotions follow after your intellect was activated. And your intellect knows what's right.
Is this like a general thing, or is this what we're aiming for?
Well, this is what we're aiming for. The marketing industry plays on the fact that we're vulnerable and our emotions are very powerful. You don't do things because you intellectually know. You only do it when you become emotionally involved. So the marketing industry tries to bypass your intellect and just hits you with real attractive stuff that just turns you on, makes you feel attracted. So a guy will go out and buy a car because a woman was sitting on the roof of it, even though he'll tell you, no, it wasn't because of that, like I looked into the stuff and the specs. But really, he's got this picture in his mind, or in his heart, that was drawing him towards it. Yes?
Like in marketing, they say people buy on emotion and then rationalize their purchases later on with logic. So with like the car example, they're like, oh, I'm buying the car for like my status, whatever, for some symbolism. But then they like rationalize it. Oh, well, actually, it has like 500 horsepower.
Good mileage, and it's it's going to be like this. And we're very, very funny creatures. All this we speak about in the Tanya class, the 6 o'clock Tanya. The Tanya goes into much more advanced detail on literally how this all works. We're giving the Bain ideas that you see the structure, the superstructure of how your personality is working. So the mind goes through a process when activated to decide what should I be attracted to. The way that the snake works is he tries to bypass the mind. He lures you into something and often tries to make you not think about it. That's why there's so much impulse purchases. Impulse is just, you just buy it. Like you didn't even know, how did that just get to, you ever notice how fast you bought something on Amazon? Before you even realize it, it's already, thank you for your purchase. It's like, how did that was fast. It's very fast. Because they want to get you on impulse. So fall in love is love, that I'm attracted to something, but I never took it through an intellectual journey. And the intellectual journey is this really coming from my godly soul? Is this good for me? Is this really authentically good for me? So that's love. Yeah. You had a question?
So I like this idea of love in general. Emotional, your intellect kicks in, and then you respond emotionally with love.
Attraction. Love is a good attraction, drawn to something.
So going back to your saying, I'm curious what the Kabbalah says about soulmates and love. Like you said that you're with your wife, everlasting, right? We're here for about 80 years if we get lucky, each human being.
Hopefully 120.
Hopefully 500 years, right?
When Mashiach comes, we will live even longer than 120 years. But until Mashiach, we say 120 years because that's the full span of a human being, 120 years. But yes, when Mashiach comes, diseases and death will begin to leave the world. We're going to see that we had cures for things. And they're right in front of our very eyes.
So I guess the question would be from the soulmate point of view, from your wife or your husband point of view, it's everlasting, and I think Judaism believes that our souls come back in other lives, right? So is there a context in Kabbalah thinking that you were married once with a soul, two souls unite, soulmates, and obviously they pass 120 years, let's say, they come back. Do we believe that these souls are everlasting, like they will we come back together?
Yeah. The soul is one up there. It just has two parts to it. When it comes down here, it splits. It splits. It's the same soul, two parts of the soul. Souls are very dynamic. People think it's like, oh, it's like a soul. It's like begins here like a physical object or something. You know, it's like this cup of coffee. So it begins here, you know, ends there. A soul is a very, very dynamic, made up of a lot of different energies. Your soul can grow. People's souls can take things upon themselves. We'll have to elaborate this on another time. The soul can get pregnant, which means the soul can take energy into it and actually birth new parts to it. That's one of the reasons why we're so careful about what we expose ourselves to, the energies, is that energy can impregnate consciousness into your soul, specifically music, as we were talking about earlier today. Being careful with what exposure, what propaganda, what is coming into you, because that energy goes into you and then starts to, creates a conception and starts to build within you. That's why when a person exposes themselves to something, they start thinking about it, believing it. They're like coming, it's bearing fruit. It's impregnated inside of them. And their soul is growing with that consciousness. Souls are very deep and very dynamic. One of the elements is, the major parts of your soul is that you have you and your wife, and then you come down to this world. And it's difficult because you're trying to find your way back. You're trying to find your way back to each other. That's one of the beautiful things. When you come back together, there's a reunification of those two souls as one. But now, as opposed to them being up in heaven and it being, we were forced as one, now they come down, split up, and they get to choose to be one. Which means that the unification is much greater because we chose each other. Okay, my friends, we'll have to continue this tomorrow. We're just so it's clear, we're focusing right now on the first of the character traits of our personality, which is the love, which is attraction, and how to use that in a healthy way. And then when it falls into an unhealthy way, the next part we're going to see is when fear, how fear can be used in a healthy way, or when it falls into an unhealthy way, we should be Zoche, Bezrat Hashem, the Mashiach Tzidkein, B'mir V'min. Amen. Have a wonderful day, my friends.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.